Beside me here is the Lancool 2 from Lian Li. It looks pretty slick, but should you buy it? It's the channel's first review. Hey everyone, Jason here with Dad Talks Tech, a channel dedicated to PC building, tutorials, and educational videos, but also component reviews and overviews just like this one. So consider subscribing if you're new. So I'm really excited to have this as my first review on the channel, as I really like what Lian Li has done with this case. They have somehow been able to add a lot of great features to an affordable cost. The Lancool 2 is a mid-tower case that comes in black or white, with the black version MSRP of $89.99 and the white for $94.99, which makes it a great buy for all of the features that you get. Starting on top, there's a removable magnetic dust filter, which helps keep your system clean, and the I/O panel, in which you have a power and reset button, combination mic and headphone jack, 2 USB 3 ports, and a blank for an optional USB-C. They probably could have included this in the case, but that would have likely raised the price slightly, so I kind of like that they left that optional for those that don't need a front panel USB-C. There are also 2 buttons to control the RGB lighting in the front panel, one for the mode and one for cycling through the colors. This also could be controlled by the software of the motherboard via a 5-volt 3-pin ARGB connection with Aura, RGB Fusion, and MSI Mystic Light. Speaking of the front panel, I really like what they've done with these cutouts. It gives it a bit of a Star Wars kind of feel to it. But what I really love about the front panel is that you can easily detach it without having to worry about removing any cables for the lighting. Due to these contact prongs right here, there are removable magnetic dust filters on the front panel, with one side being a silvery color to help with reflect the LEDs. Now, I was a bit disappointed with my case. Came with a broken plastic piece that holds the LED channel in place. But I'll chalk that up to a one-off problem, as the rest of the case is super solid, and I haven't seen anything on the webs to tell me that this is a widespread issue. On both sides of the case, there are tempered glass panels that span about 3/4 of the height of the case, with steel panels on the bottom that sort of act like a shroud for the power supply. To access the inside, simply flip the bottom panels down and swing the top panels out. Both of these are secured by strong magnets. However, there are no thumb screws or any way to more tightly secure the glass if you needed to move it around for some reason. But all in all, this is a very adequate way to secure the panels and make it really easy to access if you need to get inside to do any upgrades or just for cleaning purposes. Removing the glass panels is as simple as lifting it off the mounts, which are slightly offset for easy reassembly. In the main compartment, the motherboard tray can hold ITX, MATX, and ATX motherboards, as well as EATX boards that are under 280 millimeters. This bracket here hides some of the cabling going to the back, but you can also remove these 2 screws and flip it over in order to fit an EATX motherboard, or give you better clearance if you have an extra long graphics card. I wish they had been able to add some rubber grommets around some of the access holes just to hide things away a little bit better. But all in all, it looks really good. We have a ton of options for fans. The case comes with 3 120 millimeter fans, one in the front mounted as an intake, one on the top, and one in the back, both mounted as exhaust. The top of the case can hold 2 120 millimeter or 140 millimeter fans, or a 240 millimeter radiator, with mounting holes available to center the case or slightly offset towards the glass front in order to have more room for radiators, or if the motherboard needs a little bit more clearance. You can also mount 2 120 millimeter fans on the power supply shroud, but the fan placement on the front is where the Lancool 2 really does something interesting. By removing these 2 screws, you can remove the fan tray in the front and position it in 4 different configurations based on how you want to place the fans or radiators. You have the ability to have the fans closer or farther from the cover, giving you more room on the inside for things like reservoirs or longer graphics cards, and still have room for a pretty thick radiator. The tray supports up to 3 120 millimeter fans, or up to a 120 by 360 millimeter radiator. In order to make room for a 360 radiator, however, you do have to remove this panel in the power supply shroud down here. We have a removable hard drive cage that can hold up to 3 3.5 or 2.5 inch drives. This can be positioned further towards the back to make more room for the front fans and radiator, or further towards the front if you need more room for the power supply, or removed altogether if not needed at all. The sled in this cage is about the only place that I'm disappointed about the build quality. They're plastic instead of aluminum or metal of some kind, which gives them a fairly flimsy feel. But if you're not one who's having to replace drives all the time, this shouldn't be a problem. Moving to the other side of the case, you'll notice a couple of covers that help to hide some of the cable mess and give it a bit of a cleaner look, which is great since the back panel is glass as well. There are two removable mounts for 2.5-inch SSDs right here on the back that remain visible, and two more inside the bottom cover as well. If we remove the back covers, you'll see a little bracket here that is meant to be a spot for a fan controller or something like that. It can also be hidden behind the cover, which again is a nice feature if you wouldn't expect to have on this price range. You'll also find plenty of openings to get to your motherboard and be able to do a good job of cable management with the included Velcro straps, as well as a bunch of tie-down mounting spots for zip ties. Once you have everything cabled up and tied together, you can easily replace these covers with thumb screws and completely hide it. Lian Li also offers a few accessories that you can add on to the Lancool 2. First is the optional USB-C cable for the front I/O that we mentioned before. That will retail for about $15 US, assuming your motherboard has a USB-C front panel connector on it. They also have a vertical mount GPU adapter that will run around $55 US and will allow you to orient your GPU vertically instead of horizontally. A $15 hot swappable backplane for the hard drive caddies allows you to easily swap hard drives in and out if that is something you need. There is also a graphics card anti-sag bracket for $8 if your graphics card is a little on the heavy side and needs a little bit of extra support. And lastly, if you want to add some more RGB, they make a side diffused ARGB strip that can be attached behind the bottom shroud to give a little more accent lights to the inside of the case, which is about $15 US. So that is the overview. Let's break down the pros and cons of this budget-friendly mid-tower case from Lian Li. For the pros, the design and RGB of the front cover give it a sleek design that integrates with all the top motherboard lighting software. There's lots of options for fan and radiator configurations, and the adjustable front fan tray gives you a whole bunch of flexibility on what components you can use together. Cable management is amazing in this case. Plenty of tie downs, and those shrouds give it a very clean look even through the glass side panel. As for cons, I really found only a couple minor ones. First, the plastic drive caddies could be a little better quality. I think if you're one that switches drives in and out quite often, they might be prone to breaking, but since I'm only going to be adding a drive once and having it stay in there, I don't think this will be a problem for me. The second sort of con for this was the airflow through the front panel. I don't have the thermal testing results, but having the dust filters in front cover did seem to restrict airflow a little bit, but man, that's a cool design. They have recently rectified this though with their recent release of the Lancool 2 Mesh, which replaced the front cover with all mesh cover and no RGB strips. They do now have an RGB version that comes with 3 ARGB 120mm fans instead. So if you've been looking at the Lancool 2 from Lian Li and wondering if it's a good buy, I would say most definitely yes. Features you're getting on this thing, like the cable management features and the configuration options for the fans and radiators for the price, is a great value. So what are your thoughts and opinions? Are you going to use it for your next build? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, if you like this review and want to see more like it, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you on the next Dad Talks Tech.